Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. My partner has learned something over the years. The process he has, which you call channeling, is also his sweet spot. Regardless of what is happening around him in his life, the issues, the frustrations, the problems which he has, some of the same that you do, they all disappear. When he sits in front of Spirit in this way. This is available for all of you. And it's not called channeling. It's not even called meditation. You can do it with your eyes wide open even when you drive. This is a 24/7 relationship with what we call the house in the fog. We spoke yesterday about this elusive house in the fog that my partner found, that you have found as well. That so many of you listening to this have found. And it is a metaphor for the house which is yours with the many rooms. Not the house of a prophet or a belief system. Not the house that somebody told you was available for many and it's the same house. The reason it's in the fog is because you must discover it yourself with your intent. It does not show itself, dear ones. And this is by design. So that humanity, when it starts to move, will have done so on its own, by itself, with pure intent and discovery. Now, there are all manner of kinds of houses in the fog. One of them is integrity. In all kinds of things, without any spirituality, just a different way of thinking. But the one I want to continue talking about right now is that which we discussed yesterday. The house in the fog is you. The power of you, what's in the house, and what's different there. Let us back up. I told you yesterday that there was a time when my partner was pleased with everything he was. There was no reason to search for any more. And this suits much of human population and civilization. They're in the box we talked about this morning. Don't disturb them. They're working with it. It's happening. In my partner's case, he found the house in the fog, that is to say, the one that was hidden, because that which occurred to him pushed a button of curiosity. Is there more? Now, Spirit cannot show you the house, but it can push the button of curiosity over and over and over. Sometimes it's through synchronicity. You bring a friend to this meeting. They don't understand anything that's happening, but when they leave, they realize that perhaps there's a house in the fog someplace with their name on it. And it starts a process that they must then pursue. This is free choice. The metaphor is clear. You've got to want to go there. Most of you sitting here and even listening to my voice have done so. But now it gets good. There are many rooms in this house, and in an old energy, you have opened the door and explored so many of them. We mentioned yesterday that so many of them were beliefs. And the challenge was to see if they matched yours. Could you justify the idea that you'd lived before? That's one of the rooms. Is it possible there's something called an Akashic record which would have then recorded what you did before? That's another room. So far, all of the rooms are very 3D. That is to say, they represent things and beliefs. Is it possible that sound and color has vibration that would heal? It's facts, beliefs, processes, even physics. And it requires that you open the door, take a look, close it if you're not ready, and come back when you are, if ever. And here we sit with the house in the fog with many rooms. Now we want to tell you something. You've now discovered a stairway. And you start going up the stairway, and the name of the stairway is profound. It has many names, dear ones. It is the shift of the planet, the precession of the equinoxes, the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, the city on the hill, peace on earth. And the stairway beckons itself for you to discover new rooms in your own house. The second story literally is the next story to be told. And you walk up the stairs and you are presented now with more rooms, and they're not near as easy. They present now a puzzle that deals with your inner core, that which is you, not necessarily something you want to believe in or you're curious about, but something that you have to work with that will change you forever. And there they are. You can even see the names on the doors, and some of you won't want to open them. And others will be brave enough to say, I'll try now. Come back later when I understand it more. The first one is called purpose. Very difficult, very difficult. A concept. What is your purpose on the planet? Not 3D. I am talking about your soul on earth. Why so many lifetimes? Why at all? Why now? And some of you have it figured out and some of you don't. And many don't want to try. It's too complicated. You're afraid of too much responsibility. You 3Dize it. You want to box it in there. You'll say, I know what my purpose is to help humanity and write this book and do this and this and this. You missed it completely. Purpose of spiritual soul. Why are you here? And I will tell you that as that door starts to open and you really want to look at it, you're going to be presented with some curious things. For that door inside contains puzzles. You have to take your three-dimensional mind and throw it away. And you're going to have to look at the concept of life at all. And if you ever found out the true reason, and you will, you'll smile. And that will lead you to the next house. You exist because you are part of the creative source and the plan that is beautiful. It has nothing to do with you. Your purpose is God. Ask those who walked the land here thousands of years ago what was their purpose, and they would say to be part of that which was everything, to balance what was. So much were they a part of it, they didn't even know how old they were. They weren't counting. It's time for you to stop counting and stop figuring it out. Because when you see real purpose, you'll know you are part of a very, very large plan of benevolence, of galactic purpose and love. It is universal. It's not about you. because you are a piece of everything. Can you decentralize? Or will it always be about the you that you walk around in the body that you have? This is the second story, dear ones. This is those who wish to become quantum. The second room is called self-balance. This is not obvious. But dear ones, if you accomplish the first one, and you have a far larger sense of why and who and purpose, you're going to start relaxing and realize that the things that take place and happen to you are fleeting. And that although you may mark them as significant, you may be frustrated by them, even fear. If you pass the first room, you'll also know that you will recover in whatever that means, because you are forever and you are self-balancing. Inside you is the master healer, the master psychologist, the channeler. All of those things, because you are part of the plan of God. You are self-balancing. If you are in the depths of despair, in the closet, a victim of all things in your mind, it's only a matter of time when that'll go away. The wise human will know that, and when they're in the depths of despair, will find something to keep them busy. Because time will take care of it, and you'll know it. Can you imagine? Can you imagine, no matter how you feel, no matter how angry or frustrated you are, if you knew there was the light coming, and all you had to do was wait, you would act differently instead of scrambling for solutions and survival. It's a different way of thinking, isn't it? A whole different concept. Room number 3. If you would get past the first 2 rooms, number 3 has a sign on it that says completeness. You are complete. How many of you keep waiting for what you're supposed to be doing? Don't raise your hand. There is a feeling of linearity within you. The clock is always ticking, and you want to know what you're going to do when you grow up. And this is very common, especially with old souls. Especially because you see at some level the power that you have. And you're never complete. You're never complete. When you go to bed at night and you think about who you are and where you are and what's going on, can you honestly say, I am that I am. I am complete with myself. If nothing ever happens past here, it's beautiful. Thank you, God. And I will tell you that most light workers don't think that way. What about the incomplete project that's going to make the difference, or where you're about to go, or the next level, or those kinds of things? It's a human bias of time and also of what we will call bias of hierarchy. You're always reaching to the next rung to be higher than you are today, with the idea that a higher vibration is going to make you better and those around you better, not realizing you're complete. You're complete. Now, you may do many things in linearity, but you're complete. God sees you as complete. Why can't you? There's a difference here. Very difficult, very subtle to understand when you say there's things that I must accomplish and do. Oh, how human of you. Not when you're spiritually whole and complete. And that should give you a feeling of relaxation. No matter what I'm going through, you'll say, I'm complete. I know the purpose is beyond this lifetime, even the next lifetime. I am eternal and I'm complete. I'll walk this planet and do what I must, but it's not going to bother me because I am complete. Can you have peace with yourself? This is also very difficult. Those who have passed the first doors and are complete have total peace with themselves. And you may be in a situation where you're not finished and you know you're not finished, or you're frustrated because things around you are not moving. In fact, you feel like you're never settled. The biggest challenge: can you be at peace with yourself anyway? The new normal is this way. It pushes and pulls you with an old energy that tells you you are incomplete, you're not worthy, and you're never satisfied. You want to know what a balanced old soul looks like? They glow because they're satisfied and peaceful with who they are. And they may be in the midst of turmoil in 3D. Do you see how these rooms are more advanced than you thought? They're difficult even for my partner to deliver the message because he has linear concepts and he is discussing quantum ones. The final door is the hardest. It's difficult to even have a name on it. We're going to call it the new human. It's evolution. Are you ready for such a change that you won't even feel like a human being? A change that you cannot fathom, and one that all planets of ascension have gone through. So remarkably difficult is it that some have had many psychological problems with it because it is so different that you feel you're losing your mind. And yet it is sustainable through the love of God and with the help of holding the hand of the Creator. Dear ones, when you start being in touch with your DNA at a higher percentage and you're moving toward what we will call the 44 percentile, your brain functions differently and starts to work with innate and even the heart energy. A new process begins with you. It affects everything you are. You see things that you've never seen before, awarenesses of things you were never aware of before. You hear differently. You perceive differently. And it's all you can do not to be strange. You keep it to yourself until you find that others are experiencing similar things. This is one of the most difficult shifts that's coming for humanity. The Pleiadians went through it. They know what it is. If I told you what they could do now at DNA working at over 80%, you would recognize it because this is what the masters who walked the planet were able to do. Think about this. Consciousness over physics. The ability to produce objects and things with your mind that are real. Where nature actually obeys the physics of your consciousness because it is higher than that. Did you hear that? That the consciousness that you have, which is mastery itself, nature obeys it. Are you ready for that? You say you are. No, you're not. Not yet. But it will begin slowly. And when it does, you're not going crazy, dear ones. You've just met yourself, the real self. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. Not too distant future. Now listen. All of you. Listen. Complete with yourself. Look in the mirror. I want you to imagine you don't look like that. Don't let the gender fool you. You're going to look eternal. The next time around, the next time around, the next time around. There's a lot to do. And you'll keep coming back and doing it and living longer and wiser as you do. And the mirror can never reflect the second story. This channel is a puzzle to many. But it had to be given on this land. The energy is correct for it. It's why some of you came. And you'll want to hear it again. Like all of the others, this channel is given in love and benevolence to those who have passed the marker. We've seen this before, and it is exciting. Be complete. Breathe. Relax. And know that all is well. And so it is. So it is. So it is.
So here we are at the end of a long day, and this group is an extraordinary group because you came early, you stayed throughout the day, and you came back for another 2 hours with us. So true seekers, true light workers. And this intimate group, we are lighting a match for the planet right now. And boy, does it need it, right? So with that, I invite you to close your eyes and use this moment to return to the essence of your soul, the essence of your eternal soul. It's a flame that never goes out, a continual burning of light, the place where we can recharge our cellular structure when we give intent to connect with that essence of our soul. Where is it that your energy comes from? Where is it that the healing comes from? Where is it that the love emanates from? There is nowhere, because it is both inside and outside. It is that essence of your soul that exists everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And so the invitation is to let all the busyness of the thoughts in your mind dissolve away into the nothingness of the eternal soul. And from this place of the burning eternal flame, let us welcome in the final message from Kryon for this day.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. Questions have always been asked about the awareness of Spirit, of the Creator. And what I mean by that is how much we know about you. And sometimes it's asked in a fearful way, like we would know too much. I would like to tell you, we know every soul here, every soul here. In other words, we know the essence of you. We know the love that you were born within of the creative source. It may be interesting for you to think about that. We know everything you've been through. Those guides that you have that we've talked about even today, the ones who come in with you, in such an esoteric way that we can't even describe it. Since they're not physical and they're not really energy, they're something else. Something that hasn't even been studied yet. Something entirely spiritual. You might say they're in every piece and part of your DNA, and yet they stand aside as well. You might say that they're a field around you, waiting to help. That doesn't help you much, because you think in 4 dimensions, very logical. But they're there, and so are we. You are never alone, and I said that to my partner. This will be the slogan, if you wish to have something that is marketing on this entity called Kryon, which is not an entity at all. It's an energy of love. You are unique, each one. You come into this planet, you have biological differences. When you're raised, you have things implanted into you which then become your subconscious, which then you have to work with. Some positive, some not. And it makes you who you are. What you believe, how you believe, and how much you think about what you can do. You're born into a very modern culture with a very old way of treating humanity. How many of you can stand up and say, I have a lot of self-worth? And the answer is not that many. Or if you do, it's not really true. We can tell. We know. We know what you've been through, what you've been told. We know that you fight a battle if you were to stand up and state that to anybody, in a group especially, because you've been told to cool it a little. Because people will think that you're a little too much or perhaps a little too egotistical. And yet there are those of you here who are giants of majesty in love. In this room. We know you. And you don't talk loud. And you don't talk much. But you love humans. All of them. And you've learned some things this lifetime, before that. We have 3 shamans in this group. We have a whole number of spiritual leaders, some on organized religion in the past. We have 3 nuns. Not now, but in the past life. I think you know who you are. This is who is in this group. The chances are very high that this is not the first lifetime when you're discovering a spiritual overview that leads you into questioning yourself. How big really am I in the eyes of God? And the answer is enormous. I want you to know that. I want you to know that if you could really pull away the veil, that whoever you are, whatever age you are, whatever you think about yourself, we see you as one of the brightest lights that could be on the planet. Because we know that which you are learning and that which you are applying to everyday life. It's astonishing what you're not aware of. I could show it to you, but that doesn't work that way. I can tell you about it, and that's okay. You might say that spirit has rules. They're not as much as rules as an honoring of the process. And the honoring is this. You come into this planet with free choice. There's a reason for that. People have asked, well, what is the entire reason of life? Why are we living like we are living? Why does spirit do what it does? If I gave it to you, it would be in a language you couldn't understand. It would be illogical because you don't have a language of love. Oh, if you only knew that which goes on in this universe, in this galaxy, and how are you related to it? Oh, I'll tell you this. I'll give you a hint. This planet is increasing in light. It really is. It may not look like it right now. It is. Other planets have gone through what you are going through. Decisions, light and dark. What you'll tolerate, what you won't. What you really want on the planet and what you don't. That's where you are. But I'll tell you, the light that you strike here, called planet Earth, is measurable in consciousness by other planets, by other groups of planets, some of whom are very aware of you and are waiting for you to join a consciousness group who also understands what's going on. What you do here, specifically in the next 100 years, will change that which is what we'll call the light quotient of the galaxy. The more planets that go into that which is awareness changes the galactic framework, if you want to say. I'm trying to give you words that don't make sense because the language of spirit is not human. But love is. All this to say, you're really important. All of you. What happens here, what happens to you, what happens next to you, and what happens eventually with those around you. Yes, I'm speaking of other planets. They've always been there. Do you really think that this is the only planet that developed life? Honestly, you really think that? When everywhere your scientists look in the galaxy, you have the same elements with the same processes. What are the chances in trillions of planets that one or two might have this happen? And the answer is it wasn't one or two. It was thousands have had this happen, called life. You always want to make them look strange and different and monstrous. What if most of them looked like you? Would that shock you? That the same process happened there as here, and it had a little push or a tweak like you did. That perhaps your DNA is not necessarily that of Earth. What if I told you that? That's getting a little too strange, perhaps. All in love. There is something else going on. It's big, and you're part of it. Can't you feel it? Old soul, can't you feel it? There are processes you have yet to discover that are wonderful and beautiful and will be seen, acknowledged, tested, and proven that have to do with your DNA. You have no clue. Medical experts, professionals, don't want to test the things that I'll tell you about. What if I told you that the energy of love and compassion affects your DNA? Your DNA, actually, the chemistry of your DNA has antennas on it. That's the best receptors on it. That's the best I can give you that you will understand. And that's not accurate. But let's say that you can visualize that and you can see that. And when love comes around and when compassion comes around, it starts to change not just your mind or your consciousness, it goes right into your chemistry and makes a change and gives you opportunities to change your own life, your own chemistry. It starts a process of cascading positive love if you want it to. You might receive it and reject it, not even know it. Because you weren't designed, you would say, in this life to do it, or somebody told you you couldn't. The worst one is when you have a spiritual guide who says you're not worthy to talk to God. And that's happened too, hasn't it? But here's the truth. There are those processes within you that respond to esoteric things and start a process within you. Now, my partner alluded to it, but even he doesn't understand it. Perhaps you're here for the first time and you think all of this is nonsense. Give it a couple of years. Because if it's true, it festers. That's the best word I have. It attaches itself as true. Love, compassion, kindness. And you can't get rid of it. And then you have the opportunity to let it grow or not. And if it does, it leads you to examination of yourself, perhaps. Why do I do this? Why do I do that? How can I improve this? How can I be a better human being for those around me? It starts to go in that direction by itself. And you're saying, well, what is that? Is that some psychological process that I'm not aware of? And the answer is, no, it is not. It's a DNA process. What does DNA have to do with how you think? Everything. In 2012, the scientists made an interesting discovery. They discovered what the rest of the human genome did. Once they mapped the human genome, there was this mystery. They only saw 3%. It created the genes. What does the rest do? Over 90. What does it do? Everything. It's responsible for who you are. It even includes your Akashic record. It's esoteric. It's splendor. It's all the things that you wish were you are there. And you don't know it yet. There is so much hidden in this old energy. But when it starts to change, things change for you. You have already experienced some minor shifts in your culture, and you have not celebrated it as though it were different. And yet it is. Hundreds and hundreds of years in your culture, a sameness was there of old energy and the way people worked and how they acted to each other, and the biases were always there. And suddenly, in your lifetime, it starts to change and shift. Have you noticed? What do you think about the Me Too movement? How long has that been going on? How long? And the answer is your grandfather, your grandfather's grandfather, your grandfather's father's grandfather. It never changed. Oh, but it did in your lifetime. Now, that ought to tell you something. People are starting to care more about each other. They're trying to make bias differently. And you'd say, well, good luck with that, because it's always been a certain way. Yes, it has. Watch it change. The world is starting to decide what it wants. And right now, it has a far higher level than it did when you were born. Did you notice? Did you feel it? Are you aware of it? This is the shift. You're magnificent. That's what love can do. The more love you can give and receive, the more you can love that which is yourself, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that says, I count. I hold a light. And I'm going to show my light by how compassionate I am. Because I am loved by God, I am loved by myself. I count. And if you can go to that place, dear ones, your DNA starts to shift. Because the love that you've come in with, called that Creator, starts to manifest even within your chemistry. And the first thing that happens is you start to realize you're living longer. And that's another story. Is it possible that consciousness can change lifespan? Ask a physician who works in an operating room about that one. And they will say it all depends on the attitude of the patient of whether they survive or not.
They've watched those who are elders keeping themselves alive literally until their grandchildren will graduate from the school and then they pass. What does that tell you? Consciousness is in control of your chemistry. That's just number one of so many points that we have taught. But the big one, love chases away fear. Love chases away that which is the attribute of a person without self-worth. Compassion winds its way through your DNA in such an interesting way. And then one day you wake up and you say, I'm different. I feel different. I'm not afraid. I'm treating people differently, and I didn't study anything. And then they realize there's been a change, not just in how they think, but their very chemistry of their body. Living longer, being more healthy, all of these things controlled by you. And the control that you have, the king of that is love. Is there anything more I could give you than that which might save your life? And there are so many who don't believe it, who don't want to go there, and the guides will just stand next to you, if you want to call it that, and watch you even go into self-destruction. And they won't say a word until you ask, Dear Spirit, what is it I need to know? Do you have the courage to ask that tonight? Dear God, Spirit, all around me right now, what is it I need to know? And then be quiet. Instead of asking for this or asking for that or deciding you need this or that, you just let it go. Dear Spirit, tell me what it is right now I need to know. And then in the quietness that follows, your intuition eventually will start to poke certain places, and some of you won't like it. I told you I wanted to know that, but not that one. Don't go there. Get ready for it. But understand that that's pure truth. What is it you need to know? Might hurt. Might not be what you want to know. But believe me, some of these things will save your life. Because you ask, and because we love you. Blessed is the human being who has the courage to believe what they don't know and ask the question with pure intent about what should be theirs to know and what might help them the best right this minute. For these are the ones that are heroes of this age. These are the ones who will carry more light than any other. And there are a few in this room who know exactly what I'm talking about. Heroes in the making. The subject of the day. I could stay and tell you more. But sometimes you'll get into overwhelm. I just want you to know what we've been telling you. There are processes you're not aware of that center around that which you think is an emotion, and it is not. Love is not an emotion. It's a state of mind. It's a being. It's an energy that is divine and carries with it multidimensional energy that actually works in your DNA. That's the message. I'm crying in love with you all. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Please make yourself comfortable where you are sitting, in your living room, in your office, in your patio or your bedroom. Adjust your space. If If you feel comfortable too, you may gently close your eyes and bring your awareness more into your body, and from there to your energy. Take slow, conscious, nourishing breath, aware of the flow. Breathe and allow yourself to feel the energy of Source, of who you really are. Take another slow breath and relax deeper, opening more into your own being, into your love, into your divinity, into your beauty and magnificence, acknowledging as fully as you can your multidimensionality, the soul presence of who you truly are. Breathe and love yourself even more at this moment. And not only connecting with your soul deeper, but with all the other souls that are joining with us this morning and for the next 4 days in this beautiful multidimensional and internet experience, joining hearts and joining minds and joining in our energy, creating more coherence, bringing more awareness, expanding more our consciousness, stepping deeper into our wisdom, into our gifts, into our benevolence, into our space of joy. Breathe and love yourself even more. Allow yourself to connect deeper, expanding more, and feeling the love from all that is, and from the family beyond our physical presence that is joining us as well, with their support, with their unconditional love. Allow yourself to relax more, to feel more, to know more, to grow, and to understand. Take another deep breath. And as we are preparing this foundation of energy for ourselves for today, let us open our hearts, our energy, to the love, the wisdom, and guidance from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. For those who have not heard this message before, I give you a common message that I want you to hear, that I want you to understand fully. God, Spirit, the creative source, whatever you wish to call it, that which created you and all that is, knows what's happening right here, where you sit as you listen. I've said this before as well, that we are in a multi-dimensional place, and it's very difficult for you to understand
that this message that I give now, even when it is listened to later, has the same effect. We know who you are, and in all beautiful love, we care about you. Wherever you are, wherever you sit, whatever has happened in your life is known by all those angels, if you wish to call it that, who surround you. As you sit there, I want you to understand that no matter what you have been told about who God might be, it is a caring, loving, beautiful, kind Creator that has put you here. There are so many right now who are saying, what is happening on the earth? This feels so different. And because of the difference, so many are in fear. Sometimes there's really nothing to fear, but you're in fear anyway. And the reason is because it's different. Humans love sameness. They don't like change that much unless they are planning it or in control of it or expect it. So sometimes there is fear simply because you don't know what's coming. Dear ones, for 31 years, I have been telling you about change. In 1993, the first book that was released told you about now. It told you that you would not then have a termination of humanity on or about the year 2000 or even in the first 10 years after 2000. That the scriptures that you have come to know and study said otherwise. And we told you this is changed. This is something you changed. The future has changed. It is changed. And that is what the message of that book was, called The End Times. A funny title, some would say. A fearful doom title, some would say. But it's a metaphor. It's the end of an old time. The book title reflects that of the message of the Maya calendar. And so many of the indigenous of this planet who saw that something was coming, for thousands of years looking into the skies, they realized there was an earth wobble of about 26,000 years. And the indigenous and the ancients, who were often guided by the stars and the positions of them, the equinoxes and all of these things, saw something coming. It would be when that wobble of the earth would center itself and start a new wobble. And that centering would happen in December 21, 2012. And that became then the marker. And you might notice that in your scriptures, for all of these years, you have seen that the earth wouldn't make it. There would be so much. The World War III, the Armageddon, whatever you wanted to call it, was prophesied everywhere. You really weren't expected to make it. But you did. I arrived in 1989 with a grand message. And the message was that there would be no Armageddon. The End Times book stated this clearly. Something else was going to happen. Dear ones, you're sitting right now in that something else. You moved past that which was the prediction of the end. And here you are sitting at a time that has really no predictions. Did you think of that? Whether it's your scripture, whether it's Nostradamus, whether it's the esoterics, there are no ancient predictions that bring you to this place. Oh, there are plenty of current ones. And the current ones are still often doom and gloom. Just lately, you've been given information, if it's not frightening enough, about things to happen in the next few months. And the astrology, it actually would confirm issues that you are going through if you looked at it. Never in your life have there been most of the planets in retrograde. Did you think of that? Interesting times, isn't it, that you are living in? I had a name for it, and I want to revisit that in this message. The name I gave for it just recently, right now, is the winter of consciousness. Let me tell you how this is working so you'll feel better about the fact that you are on target, on schedule. I told you there would be changes. 31 years. The messages have wound up to this place. Some have been cryptic, some metaphoric. But I told you that, dear ones, there is change coming. And I also told you that if you wanted to know more about what that change really truly was, you might see the predictions of the ancients who said, if you made it past that precession of equinox, past that 2012 time, if you made it, it would be the beginning of the highest consciousness the planet had ever had. With high consciousness, you have the end of war. You don't have the end of disagreements, dear one, because humans have free choice. You have the end of war, the kind that would terminate humanity. Now, some have said, well, that's impossible. The impossibility is that human nature will always drive you to the same place. I have news for you. Contrary to anything you've ever studied or heard or been taught, human nature is a moving target. Human nature starts to change with a higher consciousness maturity. What's been happening on your planet that you would said you never thought would happen? Not the pandemic. I'm talking about things that were different. Perhaps good news that you never thought would happen. For hundreds of years, there has been an inequality with the genders, so much so that one gender would be over another, and the other gender, the women, could do nothing about it. It wasn't just hundreds of years, perhaps it was human nature for thousands of years. And suddenly that changed with what you call the Me Too movement. Now, dear ones, think about it. That is a maturing of human nature and consciousness. That's when a confluence happens. That is a majority, if you wish, an intermingling of a higher idea that starts to take hold and starts to work. You've had some of the clergy for hundreds of years been responsible for abhorrent things with children and got away with it. And now you have even the leader of the clergy making differences. We predicted that leader. We predicted that leader would make those changes. That's the first time in hundreds of years that you're starting to see dark things come out into the open and be settled. You are right now in a place where other things are coming to the surface. I speak now to those of my partner's citizenship in America. It's time for change, and you know it. It's not that which happened in the past where the change would happen but really wouldn't. Meaning that it would rear its head again and there would be demonstrations and there would be those who were distraught in the horror of what happens and inequalities. And then they would go away and then they'd recur, and then they'd go away and then they'd recur. But now, dear ones, it's just like these other things I'm telling you. The reason you see so much unrest right now in this country is that finally they're looking for a solution. And they're not going to let it go unless there's a solution. This is different. this is a change. This is what we've been talking about, and here it is. Some interpret this as the worst thing that could happen, and you say, look at the unrest and look at all of this and what's happening. What's happening is maturity. What's happening is growing up. What's happening is that the old ways are not going to work anymore. The winter of consciousness is a description, a metaphor of the seasons. You are at the winter where the leaves are falling off the trees and it's becoming bitter cold and you don't know what's next. What follows winter, dear ones? You know. The sun will come out. The trees will have leaves again. That is a metaphor for things that start to be solved. Nothing happens quickly here. You know that. Nothing. But at least the seeds can be planted and grow that start solutions. And Americans will start a process of not electing anyone unless they are on board with the solutions. Do you see how this may be different? Do you see? If you are one watching this and not an American, you may look here and see so much unrest and say, what is going on with your country? I just gave it to you. And this country is not alone. There are some things happening on the planet, not as much in this country, that are also going to be exposed soon. The slavery of young women who are taken from their families and sometimes birthed in places just to be of service to men. Slavery. Dear ones, it's rampant. There are thousands. And it's all underground, you might say. It's always been there. Suddenly, it's going to rear its head. I want you to see how it's being funded. Then I want you to take a breath. You won't believe it. And it's going to come forth. All part of a new human nature. This is the message of Kryon. If you want to say, what is the overall message? It's always been this. You'd reach a time when you'd start to grow up. Grow up in maturity, in consciousness, so you would never kill one another in mass in a war. Unconscionable is the word. A higher consciousness that starts to make sense on the planet where you start to get along. And that your leaders, they won't last long unless they echo what the old souls of this planet are going to demand. Solutions or the beginning of them. Progress, finally. That's what's going on. Can you sit and celebrate it in the pandemic when you're experiencing, in some places, a reboot of the way things are? The new normal. A word that I've used now for some years is here. The new human, which I've used for years, is here. That's what's going on right now. Do you have the courage to celebrate it wherever you sit, no matter what's going on in your life? Can you sit and be peaceful for a moment? Can you sit and be healed of fear and anxiety for a moment? Can you sit and realize how much you're loved for a moment? A spotlight comes on you, and you realize the angels are here, and they're looking. And there's so much love. You will get through all of this, old soul. One of the reasons you're here, to hear some of the things that may help. I'm Kryon in love with humanity. And this is the message, and always will be, for a new human on a new planet called Earth. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
I invite you to close your eyes and take a while to settle into your body, breathing into your belly, slowing the rhythm of your breathing. This is your time. This is your space. This is your opportunity to take care of yourself first, because the honor of your journey is passed on to others. This is where you allow yourself permission to relax. This is where you open yourself to receive. This is where you are in a safe place. This is your sanctuary. This is your eternal connection. This is a place where you embrace all the elements of the soul. This is where you share the moment with your higher self. You share the moment with your guides and your angels. You share the moment with your ancestors. You share the moment with Gaia and all the beautiful sentience Gaia has. The beautiful animals on the planet, the plants, even the whales and dolphins share in this moment. The elementals of Gaia share in this moment. All the richness of your Akash share this moment. Innate, the smart body, shares this space with you in this moment. Innate always has its antenna raised, listening for your instructions, for your intent. It is sharing this space with you. The crystalline grid absorbs the energy of this moment, and you will leave an imprint of this experience that will forever remain on the planet. And your soul, that peace that is always with you, is ready for you to come a little closer. So Kryon, we are ready to come a little closer.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon. Come a little closer. This is the second time that we have presented a circle of 12 in front of those who would sit in an audience before us. This enhances the entire experience because there is a cognization, you might say, of a togetherness. You've learned to call that a coherence of consciousness. What that means is there are many here that know one another, even slightly, sitting next to each other, even slightly, that enhance the one next to them to make this experience even more real. And that brings up the subject that this particular meditation is not a meditation. It is an exercise of reality shift. It is a real exercise. It is something that exists, an invitation to change dimensionality, even if for a while. Something that has not been offered before and was not necessarily possible with most individuals, even old souls, before the shift of 2012. My partner speaks of new energy on this planet, and there indeed is. It is an expected energy. It is an enabling energy. Dear ones, those who seeded you have watched this civilization for all of these thousands of years to this point to see if that precession of the equinoxes, the end and the beginning of the 26,000-year cycle, would make a difference. Would you destroy yourselves prior to it? Or would there be something that would keep you from doing that, where you would then go right into that shift and be ready for a new kind of energy, a new awareness as this planet spins through new areas of space that also will enhance it? All of this to say, you are here at this point in time in 2021. And that says something. You made it. I'll tell you something else, old soul, as you sit in front of me. There are many who understand that there is indeed some form of planning session before you get here. It's a profound one, especially the one you went through, all of you. Hard to imagine that you went through a session that might have put you on the planet with the parents you have, with the conditions you went through. But indeed, most of you did this willingly because this would be the time through the shift that might make the difference on the planet. Here's why we love you so much. When you were looking at the planet, when you came, there was no guarantee that you would make it through the shift. There was no guarantee that World War III wouldn't happen. You have always been on the cusp of war, always. This planet has been through as many world wars as it could possibly go through with the technology that it had to create a world at war. Before then, it was countries at war singularly with countries, and before that, it was tribes with tribes, but there was always war. Look around. You might say war was the staple of human nature. And when you stood at the wind of birth, about ready to come into this planet, that was what was pending. That was the future. Your scriptures read that you might not make it past the year 2000, that something would happen. That it would be the end, perhaps, of earth as you know it. And there were so many who believed that. And as you stood there in that planning session, there was the idea you might come into this planet and be incinerated by yet another final war. And you looked around, and what you knew with the others is this: if enough of us come back, if enough of us say yes and go in with the light we have and what we know might happen, the shift can go without a war. How many of you have put this together? Those listening to this particular channel even later, how many of you put that together? That your existence on the planet as an old soul, whether you feel you're awakened or not, your old souldom is valuable in the shift of the planet because you came. Because on the other side of the veil, you made that decision in full awareness of God, of what might happen here. And in you came. What an energy that sits before me. I don't know if you really put that together. That's courageous. Old soul, that's courageous. And because you did it, and because there were so many who did it, there was no World War III. In fact, there was the beginning of the opposite. Against all odds, at détente, against all odds, shifts were going on that would bring you to a place where certain systems of government fell over and fell down that would have fed the World War III and did not. And it all came to a close and an end at a stop. And you did not go into that, which was the horror that was predicted by almost everyone. That was you. And so the shift begins. And in this shift, there is now an accelerated energy of discovery. That's the best I can give you. For you now to have the ability to go beyond almost any spiritual attribute that has existed on this planet. Because a planet of war and horror is not where you're going to find enlightened civilizations. A planet of horror and war does not lend itself even to small groups going into what you can go into today, which is an accelerated attitude, dimension, self-introspection, and a move where you can go beyond the veil. That's what we do now. I told my partner those months ago, build an exercise of reality so people can go into the unimaginable reality of their own soul. Unimaginable because they had never been there, not on a regular basis, not voluntarily. It was difficult, to some impossible. There's been a veil, dear ones, you could not penetrate or pierce, and you know what I mean. Seemingly even the highest of the gurus could reach a point where they might be in the veil and pull back energies that seemed to be magic, but they couldn't go through it. To go through it, they assumed would be death. And now I tell you the real story. The veil separates the 3 dimensions from the multi-dimensions of your soul. You have lived in the linear part, which is the human part, all of these years. And some of you have done such a wonderful job of holding the light, even in darkness. You've done such a good job of holding the light, even in fear. And in that, you have helped create this planet as it exists today, simply by your wonderful thoughts, the joy, the love, the hope. And here you sit. Now I'm going to tell you, there is a way, simply through intent, that you can now move through that veil into that which is the seemingly magic elements of your soul, which are multidimensional, and you can start to see the bigger you, the rest of you, the enlarged you. And it's not odd or spooky or scary. It doesn't have to be, because it's totally safe, because it's you discovering more of you. The metaphor is this. We create a metaphoric bridge to cross, which is a way of saying you're going from what you know to what you don't know. And in that already, there is some fear, often, because humans do not like to venture into that which they're uncertain about. It just makes sense. It is your survival. You don't walk off a plank into nothingness and you know better. And so that's why I will help you, and I'm here for that. And that is why I came to this planet. I'm here to guide you through a new dispensation, one that's going to be of compassion, that allows these kinds of things on a regular basis to occur alone with you, not just in a guided way, where you can actually give intent to walk across a bridge, metaphorically, through a mist that is the veil, to a revelation of things you didn't expect that are you. So I'm going to invite you to do that with me. This is the circle of 12, the 12 indicating the energy of the universe, the sacredness of all things, and the catalyst of spirit. A catalyst is something that pushes the envelope, bringing things together that create something else. And that is what this is all about. The bridge exists, and you cannot see what's on the other side, so there has to be trust. You have to understand that walking into this unknown place is walking into a safe place that you don't expect. Once you have been there and felt the reality of it, even one time, you'll want to go back. This is not something that you do casually. Don't do it if you're not ready. But understand, it's not a meditation. It's a reality, right now. And you can create it with me. I want you to take my hand and let's cross the bridge together. Oh, if I could really show you everything. This would be something that you'd remember for the rest of your life. A journey into an area that is not explainable, where truth and love, compassion, healing seem to be like raindrops falling on every part of your cellular structure. Rather than being afraid, you welcome it, you see it, you understand it, and you go, oh my, this is what I wanted. When I stood at the wind of birth, even before I came, this was the promise, that we might be able to do this while we were alive. To get a glimpse into our own soul, and if we did it, we could work the puzzle there. And we could work the puzzle there so much better than we could on the linear side of the bridge. Every Healing Wednesday, I bring you to this place within your own soul, with your own scope of reality, and present a scenario of healing to you. And you can say, well, it's a nice meditation and it's a nice thought, but it isn't. It is a reality if you choose it to be. And that, my dear friend, is the multidimensional part of you. That 24th pair of chromosomes. You have 24. 23 are linear, 1 is multidimensional. Given to you by the star seeds. And this is the one you're using right now as the energy starts to increase on the planet, giving you allowance and enablement. You walk into this place and there's so much to imagine, and every single one of you has a different idea of what is there, because multidimensionality does not land on linear receptors. It creates things and patterns in your unique brain, and you see what you could see. You might see the angelic shapes of those who are there to help you. You might see the plans for the future of co-creation that you set forward. You might greet your innate. You might see those in the past. There's always a door to go through, and we ask you to go through this door. It's a symbol. It is an analogy of moving into a place of energy that's specific. Go through that door with me. Take my hand. Let's go through the door. It's your door. It's almost like a segmenting of a space in your soul where we're going to work. Where you're going to receive something if you choose. And the receipt of what you might choose this time is the same as we gave the last group. It's that profound. We want you to have it. Through that door, if you'll allow it, there is a visualization of a theater in the round. Sometimes it's enormous, sometimes it's small. It doesn't matter today. A theater in the round where an audience sits all the way around it, and there is a sunken stage. So you must go down into the audience and up onto the stage. Another metaphor. On the stage there is a single chair. Another metaphor. All the things that Spirit gives you, oftentimes in scripture and quatrains, mean something else. Almost nothing is linear. The chair represents that which is safe. You sit. You do not have to stand and be examined, which is the metaphor often of standing before an audience. Or performance, and you don't have to do that. You sit. And you sit and you're ready to receive. And in this particular theater, something different than any we've done except the last group. There is a fire pit in front of you. It's not too hot for you. But you see the flames are hot enough to burn anything that goes into it to a crisp, destroy it. And you know something's going to happen. The audience starts to show itself, and it's similar to an audience you might have seen before. But this is an accelerated exercise. I want to stop here before we even examine the audience. Are you with me? Is this real? Or is this imaginary? Each one of you is invited to move into this dimension of reality so you can feel it happening for you. Because what's about to happen can affect your life forever. The audience starts to show itself. There could be a few, there could be hundreds. But you start to recognize them in an odd way. Very odd. Because every single one in the audience is part of your Akash. They are all you. Every single one of them is you in a past life. You look closely. Some of them are ancient and old, and some of them are no more than 3 months old. How can that be, you say? What has happened there? That is where you had an agreement to come in and die early. To put your parents in a place where they found Spirit and could touch the face of God because they were in such sorrow they had no other option. And you pushed the light of the planet because of that sacrifice to come and die early. That's a past life. Many of you didn't even have a name yet. That's you. That's what old souls have gone through. Those are the programs that you set for yourself. All the genders are there. You've been both male, you've been both female. And you look around and you start to see them. And your Akash starts to ring with the truth of this exercise. Every single one in the chair here today has a past life record. It's real. And every single one of you today can be with me right now in this, not an exercise truly, but a reality shift, and understand that they're now looking at you. It's a meeting of the yous with yous, all of you meeting all of you. Only this one is different, because all that has gone by, all of the past lives, all of those with other names which are you, with one soul today where you are, all of them have one thing in common. They look at you and they say, you made it. Of all of the lives we've had, you are the one who chose to go through the shift. And everything all of us together have ever done has been moving toward this moment. And what happens next, dear ones, could only happen in this energy. Are you ready? Every single one of those people that you have been, humans, everyone, including the child, including the one who is 3 months old, all of them have something for you. There's a package that they've wrapped up. And one by one, they're going to come onto the stage in front of you and give them your old name, who they are, when they lived. And they're going to take that package and they're going to make an announcement and toss it into the fire. And it starts, and you start to see what's going to happen. One from the longest time ago will come forward and say, I was your first life. And it impacted you greatly because of the things that happened that carried on to the next life and the next life, because I was the first of the Akash. Some of which you still have today. And some of it stinks, they'll say, because some of it is odd and old, and some of it is not good to look at, and some of it is sorrowful. And they'll say, it's all in this package that I give to you today, and in the fire it goes, and it burns to a crisp when they say it's no longer part of your karma. And they bow and they move on. And one by one they come up. And the packages, you don't even recognize some of them, but they tell you all about them. This was the sorrow you went through in war. This is you on the battlefield dying in the dirt. Something you will never have to carry with you or remember, ever, because I have it in this package. I've carried it for you. You've carried it. We've carried it. And now it goes into the fire and it's gone. You will never have to experience that as long as you're a human being on the planet. It will not be carried in your psyche or your subconscious. One by one. Even somehow that little 3-month-old human being who shouldn't be able to walk comes up and speaks and says, this is the sacrifice that you made, only here for a little while. It's in this package. And whatever it caused in your karmic attitude, in any of that which is your akash today, it's gone. Oh, and then there are the diseases. There's the genealogy that you have, perhaps, that your sister had and your mother had. There it is in the package. Dissolved, gone. One by one, one by one. How long is that going to take? What do you know right now that you carry that's inappropriate for your magnificence? I want you to think about it. What are you afraid of? What's the deepest seated fear? What is it you won't do? I want you to see it wrapped in one package of one of those souls. All one soul, one of those human beings who comes up and throws it in the fire and announces their name and tells you where it came from. When they're done, you're clear. If you'll follow me in this reality, in this dimensional shift, and do these things and watch and be truly aware of what's going on right now, you realize you are in another dimension and it's real. And this is your soul operating at the highest level with your human body for the first time in a very fast track of dropping all of these things that you don't need anymore. One by one. When you're finished and they're finished, and you come back to this chair in the Creative Life Center in Sedona, Arizona, you can be changed forever. Where things can now soar and happen because the subconscious is cleared of all these karmic attributes. Something that they strive for in so many countries, the nirvana that they know is there, is something you just cleared. Because you're an old soul and because you can. I want you to stay there, stay there, stay there, and return as many times as you want to finish this if it's not complete. Is it real? Or is it a meditation? I have a room of old souls that can leave this building differently than they came. Stay. And so it is.
Hi everybody, I'm Lee Carroll. I am the original channel of Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. There would be those who would say that the transition was too quick. And that all you hear now is what you've been hearing for 5 hours. And they would say that it is the voice of the human being pretending to channel. Are those exact words? we have said many other times. It is those who can see and feel the energy and will know that in this place there is a change, that the communication is real. Starting from the back of the room forward, the entourage begins its journey until it reaches the stage. I know some who feel it and some who don't. And we say this as we've been said before, if you are one who is here in disbelief, this is not a time to convince you. And all we would ask of you is to open your heart and allow for a moment. What if this was real? What if this is real? Would you allow Spirit to touch you and to show you it is? Would that be too much? What have you got to lose? And then there are those who know that this is a time that is exactly as predicted. That what is here is what you think is here. That there is an energy on the other side of the veil, which many of you call God or Spirit, that is a family and connected to you. And this process is a completion of the connection for this time. That this process is one which speaks to many of you at the same time, and this same process is the one that you personally have. And it may not speak to you in these words, in this way, in this language, but it's still the process. Could it be that you are hearing Kryon, a piece of the creative energy which comes to you in your reality through the channel who sits in the chair? And some will believe it and some who won't. So this is for those who understand and believe. This is for those who have gathered in this room. A message for all, but specifically for you. Some messages, they contain physics. Some messages, they contain concepts. Some messages are predictions and facts. I present this one for the season. What is the season? They call it the holidays. In linearity, where I am, in the culture that I sit in, it is a pronouncement of faith in the Master of Love. And so it becomes a holiday of love, a time of gift giving, and a time of great stress. I am Kryon, and I want to give you something from my perspective for the holiday. And if I'm going to do it accurately, I'm going to do it in this way. I'm going to represent my partner's case for singularity. Call it an extension of the channels we've been giving for weeks, if you will. I'm going to call it this: promises from a personal God. Oh, human being, there's such a singularity in the way you think. It is your bias. It is the way you are. And every single one of you, including my partner, has it. It is what you are learning to get around. It is what you are learning to circumvent. But how does a human learn to think differently? In your reality, the singularness creates one soul, one human being, one truth, one God, one belief, one way that is right when all the others are not. That is the bias, is it not? And in there is created what we would call rules of men. And the rules of men tell you how it works. And as my partner says, depending upon the box that you go to, the rules change. And I want to give you the truth. From my perspective, I want to eliminate the bias. I want to take you in a circle for a moment and hold hands with you and tell you about a God of promise. In this great shift, in this holiday season, in a time of love, I would like to de-stress this moment. And so I'm going to give you the promises that I've prepared. Oh, it won't take long. But the energy in which this is given is of love so strong that the ages are involved here. And I'm going to present it to my partner in a way he can't miss it. He can't miss it. It'll soar through the Akash, through the creation of the planet before humans ever arrived, giving you the promises of the Creator. So you can sit in the chairs and hear it and decide what it means to you. Promise number one. It's not going to sound like a promise. This is a quantum attribute. It doesn't sound like a promise. It sounds like a statement. It's a promise. And here is the basis of all basis. Truth is love. Now that's a quantum statement for you, for all of that is fraught with pregnant potential for misunderstanding. Truth means so many things to so many people. Love means so many things to so many people. Think of this. The truth of God, the truth of life, the truth of all doctrines on the planet, the truth of the facts is love. And it is the love that God has for humanity and the love that humanity has back for God. This is the cycle which cannot be diminished with intellect. This is the cycle and the truth that cannot be broken. For it's not a straight line, it's a circle, and it always will be. This is discovery. Truth is love. And you can build around it all the paradigms you wish of how things work. You can create steps around it if you choose. You can make doctrines around it if you choose. You can make it your own and exclusive to you if you choose. But you can't break the circle. And you cannot dismiss the intuition of humanity. And that's promise number one. Truth is love. A promise that will never, ever change. If you could surround one word that's an action word around that, I'll give it to you. It's discovery. Can you discover it? Out of the intellect, how do I touch the face of God? What are the processes? There are none. When the mother touches the face of the newborn for the first time, how many steps are there, Mom? How many books did you have to read, Mom? I'll tell you, it was with the heart, was it not? Touch the face of the infant for the first time, right from your womb. Do you remember it? For the first time. That's a promise, you see. Promise number 2, your family. The promise is this, that every single human being used to be a piece of God. That's a promise. That's not a fact. It's not a statement. That's a gift I give you. Information you need to know. The family of God is bigger than you think. The family of God includes your Akashic record. All of the humans you used to be. All the names that are printed in there. All of the soul energies that are a piece and part of the higher self. The one soul that is you. It has been here over and over and over. That's family. Combine it with those in the room and their souls, gosh, combine it with the God essence. That is family. Why is it a promise, Kryon? What does it mean, a promise? It's a promise that there is purpose here. That you're not bouncing around in a random life with no direction. Now that's your choice, family member. But if you will come into the fold and understand that there's energies surrounding you that are profoundly guide producing with purpose, the first thing that happens is the big aha. I really am part of something. And the second is peace. When there's purpose, there's peace. And that's number 2. Number 3 is difficult for me to give you without the emotion that goes with it. This is a personal God you have. Personal because you are part of it. Personal because it knows your name. Not the human being's name. No. The name of your soul. The name of your life lesson. The name of the quantum you. The name of the light that you are when you're not here. I know who you are. And so does every other piece of creation. Have you ever gazed upon nature in all of its wonder and its beauty? Have you ever sat in a place filled with so much beauty that it just overwhelms your senses and makes you weep? Have you ever had that? If you have, you know that you've just been recognized by every rock and every tree. And the very wind that blows in your face calls your name. Part of creation you are, and you just met yourself. That's why humans cry at beauty. When they stand on the mountaintop and the clouds clear and the sun rises, and they cry. They can't help it. Because the dirt greets them. Snow greets them. The very essence of nature itself sings their name. We know you. That's the promise of personal God. We're not a statue. We're not a doctrine. We're not removed. We're not even in the sky. We're with every heartbeat of the human being. Beautiful it is. And the primary word is discovery. Number 4, we care. Why should God care for human beings? God is so big. Humans are so small. God created the universe. How small must a human being be? How big is your higher self? You have no idea. It is a universal presence that has a name, an identity, and it's not singular. Human being, I cannot tell you, because you cannot fathom the purpose of the higher self. It is part of creation itself. It is the piece of God that is God. It's the part you split off from when you come down to be a human being. It is you in the God suit when you look up at the sky, when you see the Milky Way. It is you in the God suit that is the universe. And it cares about you. It cares enough to know your name. It cares enough that when you make a decision to co-create, when you make a decision to push on that door of knowingness, even to sit and be loved, it's there. You can't break the circle. Oh, you can ignore it. And so many do. As being frivolous. Of not being so or true. But you can't break the circle. Truth is love. Number 5 and number 6 are filled with promise. These are new promises. I would like to give you this information so you know what. Number 5 is this. Deep within your Akash is everything you've ever learned on this planet. And here is the promise that you never move backwards, that everything you've ever learned comes in again. These are new times. In this that you call metaphysics, which is simply the way things work, there is something added, and it is this, that the jar of spirituality that you've learned through life experience over and over is kept from life to life, and the next time you arrive, it is still intact. This is our promise. Dear human being, listen to me, that the next time you arrive on this planet, should you choose to open the jar of your knowledge, out will spill the shaman that you are or used to be, and everything you learned in 2009, 2010, 2011, until the last breath you take. All that is yours, that you call knowledge, enlightenment, comes in again. And you can pick up where you left. How is that for a promise? Free will may not let you want to. And that's free will. But if you want to, you'll remember it. And remembrance is the active word here in this promise. For without knowing the actual facts of who you were, or where you've been, or how you've learned it, out will come spilling the knowledge of the ages. And you will process it and go from there. You never have to learn it again. My promise to you today, it should make you feel pretty good. Because as I sit here and look at this group, every single one of you is coming back. You're not going to miss what you started. You're not going to miss what you started. Number 6, it is new. It is a promise never spoken by Kryon. It is a promise of a new energy and of a quantum awareness. And here it is. Be careful, my partner, how you state this. For let it ring with the truth that is there, and also with the power of the Akashic quantum mind. Humans are becoming more quantum. There is an interface with the Akash going on that I have been talking about now for years. And in these months, I have asked you to mine the Akash. That is to go and pick up those attributes which are yours, which you've earned in what you call past lives, which we call current life energy, that it literally is part of the soup of who you are. Here is something new. You have a consciousness now, a desire, a passion. And with this comes Akashic choice. For the first time, I am telling you now that you can choose now certain attributes of the Akash when you return. What you have thought of in the past as randomness of the gender that you're going to be, where you're going to live, and more. I'm going to tell you, you have control of it. And with repeated Akashic intent to cement this fully into your dynamic quantumness, you can physically choose what's going to happen the next time around. Listen to me. Are you allied with a partner? And you cannot conceive of being without them? Listen to me. What did I tell you was truth? It's love. Perhaps you're in love so deeply with the one you're with, or going to be with, or have been with. And you want to relive it. You don't want it to stop in this lifetime, and you would love to have it continue the next time around. Perhaps you've lost somebody. Well, you haven't. You have the ability of claiming this Akash. It's a promise. It is new. Even with partnership. And with their permission. And they'll give it to you. The two of you can cement an agreement to meet again. And to continue the love affair. And that's just the beginning. What is your passion? Do you enjoy the gender you are? Then repeat it. Do you like the talents you have? Would you like them to be enhanced? Then claim it. It is the first time we have ever given this information to you. This is power. This is power of a quantum thinker. To look inside the Akash and arrange it for the next time. And the option is there for discovery. And it brings me to the last one. The simplest one. The one that'll never change. A promise. A promise. You're never alone. Stated in the first channel Kryon ever gave over 20 years ago. In private to my partner. These are the words that he heard. I am Kryon of magnetic service, and you are never alone. Because you're not singular in 3 dimensions, the mirror says you are. If you had a multi-D mirror, you'd see the truth. Pieces and parts of you surround you, guides and helpers, angels. Whatever you call angels, whatever you think they are, they're not even singular. You can't give them names. Go ahead. If it makes you feel good, put skin and wings on them. Put a halo on them, give them a name. That's not who they are. Oh, it's bigger than that. And they're not singular either. And you're never alone. In your darkest moment, you're never alone. I want you to remember this. In your last breath. Right before the light comes on. In your last breath. So that there is no fear. As you meet the family. And you discover everything I have said today is accurate and true. And the operative word is remembrance and love. This is the holiday message. It's a holiday message for everyone, not just to celebrate this holiday. For the truth is that every single day could be like this. Peaceful. Whole. Wise. Without heartache. Without worry. With Akashic knowledge and the promise of the future. This is the message of Kryon for you today. And there will be those who know I'm talking right to them. And one of them is my partner. And so it is.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lee Carroll. I am the original channel of Kryon.
So it is good day to you, huh? Oh, so good to see you, your light, your brightness, your divine presence, your beings, you're beaming with energy right now, huh? Do you know that? When you move around, the electricity is not actually working, is it? It is just you, your bright iridescent light that is coming so forward and clearly. You have stepped up to the plate and you have volunteered to be here right now. Huh? And when you volunteer to be here, you get to volunteer to be everywhere. Because your light goes out around the planet. Yes? Dearly beloveds, everything is changing. As it did 2,000 years ago. The world shifted. And as it shifted, many came into power. Many were afraid. We are thankful that you are rid of your fear. Your mission is every bit as important as mine was. Is in this holy sacred place. They teach many paths lead to one. They know in this sacred center of your heart, many paths may lead to one. But you're the one that were chosen to be here now again in these changing times, just as you were chosen for us to walk together. Yes, each of you. We see no strangers in this group. It is good to see you again. You have shorter hair. That mission of bringing love and compassion to this planet again, I implore you. I would like your help. Before, it was really just me and a few others. They say 12. There was actually a lot more. And now we are here again at a turning point. So this planet can heal. So this planet can heal. So the people of this planet can heal. And those who have that healing mission will extend beyond where they thought their wildest dreams would take them, just because they say yes. I said yes. I'm grateful. You each are saying yes as well. We love you deeply. We see you as I am in your hearts. So many have asked me, well, when are you coming back? Too late. Already here, right there, in your heart. Please help. In love. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Savaot. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Savaot. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Savaot. Namaste.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The following message is offered as an addendum and also a duplicate, perhaps, of last night. And the reasoning for this is that I want this group to hear the same thing live that I said last night. It is seldom that we would repeat a message in this form. But when we do, you know it's important. The message is this. Shortly, there's going to be something called the Circle of 12. And I wanted to explain it as best I can. What might it be? What are the metaphors involved in the 12, even in the circle? Yes, there will be a circle. Yes, there will be 12. But there's more. It's the beginning of an energy where it's time. 31 years ago, when I came in to start giving messages, it was a slow process with my partner. 31 years ago, the whole crux of why I was here, the purpose, the energy, the focus, was not even known by my partner.
But over the years I told him that something was coming. The first book that was ever written, The Channels, the first channel ever given in the book, talked about the fact that the time was changing from all of your prophecies, that there would be no Armageddon, that the ball was starting to roll towards something else. And that something else became the prophecy of the ages, that humanity would sail past a time when it was predicted for its demise. You went past the year 2000 right into 2012. And dear ones, I'll tell you that none of your scriptures had you doing that. None of them. Even though words from Nostradamus told you that you wouldn't make it. From so many channels accurately saw that you wouldn't make it. It didn't make them wrong that they said that you wouldn't. It says a lot about the energy that was. And almost at the last moment, you pulled it out. My purpose here, from all of these years, was to guide you to that place. And then when you got there, to tell you more about what it was, the new normal, the new human, all of the things that are there for you to look at in the lineage of the Kryon messages that I've given. Always in love, always in compassion, never asking you to do anything that would be inappropriate, never giving you a doctrine, but only that you would look into the eyes of the Creator and see yourself. That's all I ever did. This won't change from that. It will get bigger. And it's going to change into a place and a way that is commensurate with everything in this building. Everything in this campus, this village. Because I gave my partner instructions that he's going to start changing what he does, adding unto the messages of the shift, but going to a place that he didn't expect. Dear ones, you have no idea, not really, of what is inside you. If you were a child of the Creator, what might be there? Past 3D. What might be there that you've never been told you could do? Every single human being is a multidimensional creature on this planet, placed here on purpose. We know your names. You have passed this marker, and I'll tell you, there has been a galactic shift because of that. Those out there know what you've done. They've been waiting for it. It echoes what many of them have done. Yes, all over. There are those like you, children of God. There will be a day when you meet the family, and you will recognize them, much like you. They'll have the same story about the love and the kindness and the compassion and what they've gone through and what their planets have gone through and their transition time and their wars. And they'll sit down and talk, and a whole new world will open to you as you listen to them and see yourself. It's coming. But all through your history, you have had story after story about the miracles that have occurred. The masters have come to this planet. Seemingly, they've raised the dead. Seemingly, there have been all manner of healings and miraculous things occur. And you just look at it and go, that master was so powerful. Look at this. Not understanding, even for a moment, that what the master had done was to set an energy so that the human involved
could do the work. The Master did not create the healing. The Master created an energy allowing the healing to occur. There are many stories of those who have gone to the other side and come back, seemingly raised from the dead. This is also that which is your ability to come back from the brink of darkness, even after the pronouncement of death. Because you have this, dear ones, always have. Choice, soul choice, soul choice. It's not the choice of the ancestors, it's the choice of you. You have always had this spark, and you can call it whatever you want to. It's never been named because it's always been assigned to those that seem to be more important than you. You didn't even recognize it was you, but it always has been. If you're going to go into an evolvement of consciousness, if you're going to have the maturity of understanding so much more of that which is you, your soul, your connection with all that is, if you're going to go to that place, dear ones, you have to understand you're not going to sail into that place with an old energy. You're not just going to have the same old next to you. There's going to be new energies that must be developed and will be developed, awarenesses that never were there. Awareness that you're powerful. Awareness that there's more than you ever thought. In order to have that, there must be an energy of allowance that creates permission, where you can go into a place, feel the energy, and come out saying, I never realized this was mine to do. I never realized that alone, with my magnificence, I could do this. That's about to be created. I'm not the only one that's going to create this, dear one. And we're calling it the Circle of 12. And it's going to happen soon for the first time. I've told my partner to slowly create this, explain it. I can't explain it to you, but I can try. If you've talked to anyone that has had spontaneous remission, it's seen as a miracle, isn't it? Isn't it? Every cell of the body resounds with something. It almost changes the time. It's almost they went backwards in time, a time before the disease. Spontaneous remission is what it sounds like, spontaneous. It's not something, well, I'm going to get a little better now. It's where the disease leaves completely. Sometimes quickly, sometimes overnight, sometimes very fast. It can only be a miracle unless it isn't. What if it was the human soul, a piece of creation, starting to be multidimensional and actually controlling the chemistry of the body, chasing out the disease, creating an immune system which is more powerful than any you've ever seen just for a moment in time. And the disease surrenders to the power of the human being in its magnificence, in its God energy. Now take that energy and amplify it and put it in a room. A room you might be able to walk into and feel. A room where you could feel manifestation of your future. A room that would heal from anxiety and fear and might even change Akash. It might even take those things such as betrayal. You see, I know who's listening. And whereas you would wake up in the morning and have the sorrow of the betrayal and can't believe it, and it activates seemingly a dark part of your life and you can't get rid of it, imagine that diminishing so that you don't even remember it. That's a healing. Imagine being in such control of your cellular structure that you can feel the years being added to your life as you bask in that green light of magnificence. Imagine understanding for the first time, I've always had this. It just never was released. I've always had this. Always. There's so many kinds of healing. The healing of the body, the healing of fear, the healing of anxiety, the healing of the Akash. I told my partner to create that place. And I've also told him to tell those who approach it not to go in. Don't even think about going in unless they mean it. Don't go in to look around because not much would happen. That's how strong it is. I've told my partner to create this every single week in a way that many can experience it. I've told my partner to give away 25% of every meeting free and let the rest fund the whole system so that everyone can participate at some level, at some time. It is the circle of 12, dear ones, and the appropriate color will be green. A green that surpasses any kind of a green you've ever seen before. It permeates every cell. The circle of 12 is coming. And there will be those who will come and experience and say, well, I didn't feel anything. That's because all of this is pushed by free choice. Get ready for a new paradigm. The one you've come from says that outside help is the only way you're going to survive. And so you go to the buildings and you report and you kneel and you pray and you do this and you do that and you call for help, 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 expecting simply that lowly human you're told you are to receive something from the sky, not understanding that you own the sky, not understanding it's always been there, always been there. Miracles don't come from outside sources, dear ones. They come from inside. And that's the message, isn't it? My partner will prepare to do this. And I will guide him through it. And it will be new to him. Creating this kind of energy, trying to explain it, and guiding those into it. In a multidimensionality, every single soul is everywhere at the same time. And that means all of this can be done from a distance, and yet you're there. That is the premise of having a multidimensionality as a reality. And you know it works. Not too far from here. The tower exists as a symbol for silent unity. And for over 100 years, they have created international, intergalactic, multidimensional energy of prayer. And they know that it goes everywhere all at once, way past the earth. It's like a beacon that can be seen by so many because It is divinely inspired, and it features human beings aware of what prayer can do. An energy of intent and compassion and kindness that starts to bathe in that light of magnificent healing. And that's why it's been so successful. You don't need to come to the tower or kneel in order to receive that which they will broadcast as your helping hand. And they will tell you that what prayer does is not an offering to the sky or to the Creator. It's not a plea. It's not begging. It's an energy that goes right to the human being in trouble and says, "You are magnificent. Stand up and be healed." That is the circle of 12. I wanted to tell you what it is so you would know, and those listening so they would know. And so there would be no mistake of the intent of what is to come. It is time for these kinds of changes. I won't be the only one. There will be others offering the same. This is what I wanted to tell you in this day, in this moment, in this time. Take this place in your heart when you leave. Your prayers make a difference. Pray for this place and those who run it, for those who are volunteering in it, and for the incredible lineage to continue and to continue. And so it is.